Hello everyone, this is Kim Lay with A2Q2, and in this video we're going to do a deeper dive into the entity level controls process. And I'll go over with you the typical sub-processes, and here you can see on screen the entity level controls there's about 18 to 22, sometimes 25 key controls. There may be more non-key controls. And within this process, we typically cover the audit committee. The audit committee's monitoring of the internal controls, the reporting structure. It's making sure that internal controls are being reported up to the audit committee. They're monitoring, they have oversight of that. There's also the authority matrix and the organizational structure, ensuring that there are typically written, documented authority matrices for approvals, for reviews, making sure that there's a clear line of organization. And the entity level control process is also very important because many of these tone at the top items are required in your COSO 2013 framework, and there's a separate video on the COSO 2013. Next is going to be board of directors and all corporate governance around board of directors. That's your board of directors charter, the nomination and governance committee charters, the audit committee charters, which means it sets out what are each of the committees responsible for, what oversights do they have over management, over the CEO and senior management strategy. We also then typically cover the disclosure committee. The disclosure committee is actually not part of a board of directors. It's typically management's committee, comprised of multiple groups that include the CFO, SEC reporting, legal, investor relations, or public relations. And it's to ensure that your financial statements that are published every quarter are complete, they're accurate, and it's typically related to your SOX 302 certification that the CEO and the CFO have to sign off on. Also in entity level are policies and procedures, particularly IT, segregation of duties policies, signature authority matrix, approval matrices for entering into contracts or POs, those types of documentation, or having something that clearly employees can look to and can follow, and it's disseminated widely throughout the company. Tone at the top, setting the tone at the top so that it cascades out. It's making sure the culture embraces integrity, that it ensures that there is the financial reporting is accurate, it's complete, and that management, especially senior management, board of director, really set that tone for that. And we all know it's similar to the definition of pornography. You know it when you see it. And this is one of those where how do you know what a culture is like? There are all these remnants that you can see, but really it's experiencing it. And here, for SOX purposes, it's how do we gather evidence that there's tone at the top, there's that communication, there's the risk assessment, there's monitoring of controls and risks. And then finally, typically in your entity level controls will be your whistleblower hotline and policies and procedures around that. You can see here when you're getting ready to be a public company, it's assessing the gaps, making sure that you have built in or started to set up a process. Typically, companies, as you get closer to being a public company, you'll set up that whistleblower hotline. Lots of organizations have outsourced it so that it's a dedicated organization can help you with that. Next is making sure that for entity level, it's typically documented in a risk control matrix or a listing of all of these controls. It's not done in a flow chart because as you look at some of these areas, they're the activities are very discrete. It's less of a process than, it's harder to flow chart, easier to write either from a risk control matrix. That's why we've listed it here that way. And typically when you're doing public company readiness, companies we would recommend companies do a walkthrough once you've designed it, once it's been put in place, and we can actually then see, is it being implemented the way it was originally designed? It's definitely optional to do any testing of this. Typically, companies wait, make sure they put in the controls, make sure that they're comfortable, everyone's doing it before they do the testing, which is why it's optional. And that's it for entity level. Thank you so much.